With my New Zealand scenery, I've been doing some upgrades to some of it. There's just North Island done at the moment, and there are 30 places, so here's a brief description of what each one is. This is the location of the real life runway here, which you can see is not a great spot to put an X-plane airfield. So all I've done is just move the entire airfield to the other side of the road onto some flat ground. It's still quite a rubbish place, but at least you can fly here now. I'd got this one half done during X-Plane 11, so I've decided to finish it, so this is technically a brand new airfield. We won't zoom in and you can find out what it's like when you get here, just don't bring a large aircraft. Just a few bits in the surrounding areas, so not much has changed, but it's a bit better than it was. I've made this new terminal building for Kerry, so it's more realistic now. A bit more stuff was added to the surrounding areas as well, so yeah, this one's certainly an improvement. Yeah, nothing major has changed here, just a few minor bits added to the surrounding areas. I've added to the local areas and also changed the hangars. I've no idea what the real life hangars look like, so these new ones may not be realistic, but aesthetically at least they look nicer than what was here before. So the version of Omaha Flats we had in X-Plane 11 was by somebody else. So for X-Plane 12 I decided to scrap that and made one of my own from scratch. Now, Google Street View gave me a few clues as to what it looks like, so I wouldn't call it 100% accurate, but it's something like reality. There's just a little bit of vegetation changed and tweaked here, so not much happened, but it's a little bit better now. A new ground polygon, added stuff to the surrounding areas, tweak and change the vegetation, plus a few other things as well, so not an absolutely huge upgrade, but it's still quite a lot has happened here. This one is still the airport by Kiwi the Iwik. I've not changed that, I've just added houses and vegetation that was missing in the surrounding areas, so it looks better when you're close to the airfield while landing and taking off. And a similar thing here where it's the default airfield, which I've not actually changed. I've just added lots of stuff in the local area around it, so it's better looking if you fly in or out of here. A few changes to the airfield layout and the surrounding areas, so that all looks a bit better and is closer to the look of the real place now. The real airfield here shut quite a while ago, and they extended the lake into what was the runway. The polygon trick to cover the lake, which I used in X-Plane 11, doesn't work in X-Plane 12, so I've had to redesign the entire airfield slightly. The runway isn't as wide now, although it's perfectly functionable, and I'm happy with that as I've always enjoyed landing here. I added quite a bit of stuff to the surrounding areas and changed a few things at the airfield too. It's not wonderful custom buildings or anything like that, but I'd say it's still an improvement on what it was. This one I have made some custom buildings. It was limited research material, so I doubt they're perfect replicas, but it's certainly more like the real thing now than it was before, with just generic hangars and stuff. I've also added to and improved the surrounding areas as well, so this one has got quite a lot better. In real life this looks like a very wide runway, and all I've done here is tweak things to keep the landing and taxi areas on flatter ground, as not all of it actually is flat in the sim. So it's not better or worse now, just more usable. A few minor tweaks, but basically all that happened here is a new ground polygon, and that hides a few things on the ortho and makes the place look a bit better now. The layout and the amount of hangars has changed, so I've updated things to reflect that, and also added quite a bit more stuff in the way of houses and vegetation to the surrounding areas, so that all looks better now. Just a few minor tweaks to the surrounding areas and vegetation. You'll hardly notice the difference, but it has improved a little bit. Since my original version of Te Kuiti, some hangars have gone, some new ones have arrived, and that taxiway in the middle of the airfield is new as well. So everything has been updated to reflect the current layout, and I've also added surrounding area stuff too to make that look better. So it's quite a big upgrade here with this one. Another one that I had started in Explain 11 and I've now finished, so this is a brand new scenery as well really. There are actually 3 separate places here, but they are close enough where I just combined them into one. So try them out and see if you have a favourite airstrip out of the 3. I've tweaked and changed a few things, but mainly this one is about the new terminal building. As it is new, there's not a lot of photos or research material to work from, but I believe it looks something like this anyway, and Taupo is now a bit more realistic than it was because of that. Some custom buildings which are something like the real thing from the few bits of information I had to go on, a few other tweaks to the airfield, and quite a large amount of stuff added to the surrounding areas too, so that's all much better than the last version of the place. Somewhere else with a new terminal building, and much like Taupo, the terminal here at Napier is so new that there isn't photos or things to work from. Although from what I did manage to find, it probably looks something like this, and I can always tweak things again in the future if more information ever does present itself. Just a few minor tweaks to things at New Plymouth, but I did also add this guy driving around on his baggage truck, so that's an improvement. By the way, his name is Dave, and last weekend he cycled to the shop to buy a bottle of whiskey. But he got scared that he might fall off his bike on the way home and break the bottle. So he decided to sit outside of the shop and drink the whole bottle there. Which turned out to be a good decision because on his way home he fell off his bike 7 times. Nothing too major here, mostly I just tweaked and changed some of the stuff in the surrounding areas, so that all looks better. The terrain wouldn't let me build an airport in the real place, so my NZVR was a fantasy airfield I made on flatter ground over here. However, I'm not sure how I managed this, but I've just recently found out that I was looking in the wrong spot, and the real NZVR location is here, where you can just about fit an airfield in. Don't bring a big plane though, but for a bit of fun I found out that the people who own the hangar also own the buildings on the other side of the road. And I'm sure they probably use that curved top hangar thing as a storage shed rather than an aircraft hangar. But I have put a start location over there and left a big enough gap in the fence to taxi over the road between there and the runway. There's always been an anomaly here with the ortho, which was very noticeable on your final approach. With Explain 11 I was able to cover that with a polygon and create a bit more land to hide it, but polygons don't work on water in 12, So what I've done is make a little dock or harbour kind of thing and use that to hide it. It's not perfect, but it doesn't look massively out of place there, and is far better than the weird looking bit of ortho when you're approaching into the airfield now. In real life, some more hangars have arrived, so I've added those. Also made a new ground polygon, and on top of that I've added quite a lot of stuff to the surrounding areas. So this one's a good sized update and certainly looks better and more realistic than it did in the last version of Masterton. And lastly, Wellington, where you may well know that I'm slowly making custom stuff and keep adding to this one bit by bit, which I will continue to do so. For this update, there's the new Sky Chefs building which I've made, and I've also made another section of the terminal building. You may find little details like vehicles hitting walls on the new part of the terminal, but I'm going to need to finish the rest of the terminal first, and then I can tweak the ground traffic so the routes will work better across the whole apron and everything will be operating as it should do. Not sure how many more updates it will take to finish everything, but we'll get there eventually. So that's the 30 locations. Get them from my mega folder if you want a copy, and do read the upgrade PDF first, which is also in my mega folder. If you have any problems, read that PDF again before you contact me. So right, that's it. I'm gonna go and make some dinner. I'm hungry.